Thank you very much for coming on the podcast, Lana. We're really excited to chat about your journey and Gentle Lion. So, I guess just quickly, could you describe what it is you do, what Gentle Lion does? I think that'd be helpful context.
For sure. I am the founder of Gentle Lion Communications. We've been around for, it'll be 10 years next year, which is pretty crazy to believe. And we're a marketing and communications company, but we really specialize in creating marketing strategies that focus on insights. We are very much, I would say, engaged with our clients' audience groups. We don't just slapstick together a marketing plan because we're like, oh, we think digital ads are great. We get into the mindset of their target audience. We really pull out their desires, their needs, their behaviors. And then we create frameworks that are based on those conversations that we have. So sometimes we actually have been told that we are almost like a business therapist because we will end up pulling things from their audience groups that a client just really had no idea about. And it's from those insights that we create those marketing communication strategies, and then we execute them.
Very cool. That is helpful. So I'm sure we'll get into more details about your background in the business, but we like to start things off with a little rapid fire to get things going. So these are just kind of quick answers, whatever comes to mind. We got a few here. So first one is, what is your favorite movie?
Oh, Labyrinth with David Bowie.
That's
unexpected. I did not. That's
Labyrinth. Okay.
I recently rewatched it. I was like, this is a classic.
I didn't even know.
So how was that like a first movie you watched? Like why that one particular?
I watched it as a kid, and I really love movies that have their own original soundtrack in it. And it just has stuck with me. And then I became a David Bowie fan. So I always circle back to Labyrinth. And then I also feel like I resonate with being in a labyrinth for most of my life.
It looks like a musical.
It is.
A fantasy musical. This is probably won't be on my list, but maybe
More, right? You're like, wow, this interview's over. She's a nerd.
Yeah, we'll wrap things up now. That was good. It's good to have a unique answer. Do you have a favorite book?
Oh, you know what? I actually just I referred this to a friend of mine yesterday, but The Body Keeps the Score is a book that every single person needs to read. And it's based on how any kind of trauma actually will stay in your body. And then it gives you kind of different stories and tips on really how to manage it, because I think everyone goes through a traumatic experience. It stays in your body, but you don't know it until maybe it comes up too late. So both of you boys, highly recommend this book. My therapy talk is now coming out.
There we go.
The trauma gives me strength, and that's what powers me to get up every day. Just
whatever works, right?
Makes you lock in. Great. If you could go anywhere in the world for free, private jet, doesn't matter, and you can do whatever you want, where would you go and what would you do?
Well, funny story, guys. I was supposed to be on a flight to the south of France on Sunday to celebrate my 40th birthday. Now, you might think that this was caused by the Air Canada strike, but it was not. I had booked a villa without getting into too much detail.
Yes.
Pretty much me and my partner had broke up, and I was like, I can't go on this trip anymore. So if I were to choose where to go right now for free on a private jet, I'd want to be whisked away to the south of France.
Okay. So you got a specific answer. That's good. What would you do in the south of France? Was there anything like in your mind that you want to try there?
No, I just want to really be immersed in the culture. I want to walk around. I love going to places where I don't know folks. And I spent some time, I went to school in Sweden for a year, and I did spend some time there, and I just really fell in love with the Riviera. So I just pretty much hang out.
Can you speak French?
Nah.
It's small town Alberta. There's no way. We don't learn French in Alberta. Yes. Okay. That's a good answer. So when you have to work, how do you lock in? Like music? Do you have to have headphones or be in a dark room? What is the lock-in process?
My lock-in is actually quite weird because I feel like I'm a manifesting generator, which means I get quite bored by tasks. I am a bona fide multitasker. So I
Okay.
do have my double screen and everything, but I weirdly like to watch things while I'm working. I really like to retain information while I'm doing something. So whether I'm watching, if there's a show that everyone's like, you need to get caught up on the show, I will sit there and watch the show and work. Or I'll like put something else on my double screen and I'll be watching a YouTube video that I'm like researching for a client while I'm filling something out.
Yeah. Okay.
Sounds like you could have been born in Gen Z. You would have
Yeah,
fit
and
in.
then I was like, is that ADHD? Is that?
I don't know. Well, if you like
It
to
sounds
watch,
pretty close.
I don't know if it is because I don't have trouble locking in at all. Like just
Yeah.
if I have to work, I mean, I do need to be in my office. I find that's the best place where I get my most of my work done.
Yeah. Well, if you like to watch, two podcast hosts make bad jokes while you work, we've got a great podcast.
We've got a library of
Yeah,
episodes for you to get through.
I'm currently building a marketing plan right now where we're actually having this conversation. I'm building your marketing plan.
Perfect. Okay, so that's good. How do you lock out then? Because I mean, as a founder, I'm sure you're busy all the time. It's important to rest and like not be thinking about work. So what do you do to lock out? Like, what do you like to do to take your mind off of work?
I have a hard time locking out.
Okay.
You guys, like it will get to the point where my body will just completely shut down and I will have hit burnout and I pretty much can't breathe. I cannot lock out of my work. I'm so in it. So what I do, like I do have a meditation practice.
Okay.
My psychic continuously reminds me that I need to touch grass every day. She's like,
Okay.
go outside, take your shoes off. Like I have to be reminded to just completely either be immersed in nature or just sit in meditation. And I'm getting better at it, but yeah, it's hard.
Okay.
I
I mean, this.
like the grind.
Yeah. So this isn't one of the rapid fire questions, but you mentioned you had a psychic. So what's like that, like having a psychic? Because maybe I could use one.
Oh yeah. And I mean, I kind of consider her my therapist. I have a couple psychics, and one of them does Reiki on me, but I really like going to visit my psychic because I find it like helps me set my goals a little bit, right? She'll like fill me in on some things and then I'll be like, oh, do I actually want to do that? Like if that's what's going to happen to me, do I really want to do that? And then I feel like I get to make a choice.
Gotcha.
So you've got multiple psychics. Do they kind of like, do you have to keep them separate? Like they don't know about each other? Do they get jealous? Like how does...
They don't know about each other.
Okay.
No. And they both have different specialties.
Ooh, okay.
That's good. You want second opinions. So last rapid fire question.
Yep.
Can you tell us about Champagne Friday? It says, yes.
Yeah. So Champagne Friday was created 10 years ago when it was kind of how I would lock out. On every Friday, I would go and drink champagne and just celebrate a hard weeks of work. And then it kind of turned into a whole community movement. People wanted me to, they're like, can you come drink champagne with us? And where are you going this Friday? Like people just really wanted to know where I was, what I was drinking. And then I started a newsletter out of it. I'll add you guys to the newsletter and it's got, like 2,000 people. And now it's just about kind of letting people know where great events are taking place in Calgary. I throw events, but funny story, I stopped drinking a year and a half ago. So the Champagne Friday brand died and it's been rebooted because I still think that you can really enjoy life and have a good time without drinking champagne.
Yeah.
But now I've inserted karaoke. So
Nice.
now I'm just doing karaoke all the time and calling it my Champagne Friday karaoke therapy sessions.
So this is like, so on Fridays you organize karaoke and then you invite, like, who's coming to this? Like, are you inviting random people? Like, is it just
Anyone.
Yeah.
Anyone. It's in the newsletter. People will show up. I'm really trying to get people to come out of their shell a little bit. People are quite nervous with karaoke. And I'm not a great singer by any means, but I'm a great performer and I'm a great hype woman. So I usually go first so people can see how fucking terrible I am. And then it gives them the confidence to kind of get out of their shell, because the best part is seeing someone do karaoke for the first time. And then after they're done, they're like, ooh. It's almost like they just had sex or something. They're like, that was insane.
Yes.
They need
Yeah.
to go out for a smoke.
Yes. I know that's usually how like I like to dance because I know I'm a bad dancer. So it's like this is like welcoming other people to dance too. Because it's like,
See?
well, I'm an awkward guy who's doing it. Anyone can.
Look at you advocating for others to come out of their shell. I support
There you go.
this.
There you go. Awesome. Well, no, those are great answers. I feel like we could just do rapid fire for an hour, but we should get into it. So
Okay. Okay.
I guess it is helpful as well to understand. So where did you grow up and did you have any entrepreneurs in your family that kind of inspired you to go down this path?
I grew up in Lloydminster on the
Okay.
border town. As you boys know, neighbors. And no entrepreneurs in my family. My dad was actually a professional hockey player. He did a stint in the NHL, but he grew up on the farm, eventually came back, and then got into car sales. And now he's working for an oil and gas company. And my mom was a teacher. No entrepreneurs.
Okay. Okay. So you grew up in Lloydminster and then you went to Calgary to pursue university. So what did you study?
My mom pretty much forced me to go to university. I knew I didn't want to stay in Lloyd,
Yeah.
but I'm not a very studious person. I did really poorly in my studies at school, but I was the high achiever, right? Like I was on the basketball team, I was in flag corps, I was in band, I was on the SRC council. And I didn't think that me getting this post-secondary education was going to really fulfill me, but my mom forced me. She's like, you gotta go to school. So usually everyone in Lloyd either went to the U of S or the U of A.
Yeah.
And I was like, fuck these people. I'm going to U of C.
Yeah. Yeah. So that was the inspiration, was just counterculture. You just
Counterculture. And I took general studies.
yeah.
Finally to go, oh, maybe I'll get into this communications game. And back then, when I went to school in like the early 2000s, there wasn't a communications program. It was just learning theory about how Marshall McLuhan created the typewriter. And ultimately what I ended up doing was I had to get my degree from my mom, but I ended up working in hospitality to kind of pay my way through university. So I started working in restaurants, and that's really where I really developed a love for the hospitality industry.
Okay. What restaurants did you work at?
I did some training at Joey's.
Oh, I didn't realize Joey's has been around that long. But yes,
Yeah.
that's Alberta staple for sure.
Then I went to this pub called Wildwood. I worked there for about 3 years. And then I moved to Europe for a year to finish my degree, came back, worked at Alloy and Wine Bar, which was in the heyday, you know, high expense accounts, $5,000 lunches, really fun time to be working in hospitality. Then I got recruited to work at Mottled Milk, which is still one of my favorite restaurants to this day. I love this restaurant. And then I ended up dating the chef and they forced me to leave and they placed me at Mercado.
Okay. And then the Mercado was the end of the hospitalities too.
That was the end, but I was still working at Mercado, you guys, when I started Gentle Lion.
Oh yeah.
Like I was in hospitality from 2002 to 2017.
Okay. So then you completed university, and I know based on your LinkedIn that you went and you worked for a communications firm.
Yep.
So I guess when you had to make the decision to do communications, I guess, was there anything that you were thinking about in terms of like where you wanted to work specifically? Was there like a subsector within communications? Or I guess what was that process to getting that first job in comms?
I mean, once again, I feel like I was pressured by my family.
Yeah.
My sister was the one who owned the agency that I worked at.
Okay.
And I thought I was going to open a restaurant one day. I just loved working in restaurants so much. And my sister was like, well, you kind of need to get some experience elsewhere. You took communication, so come work for me. I started working for her as like a PR coordinator, pretty much doing reporting. And I was not the best at it. Probably made her life a living hell. And I mean, she kind of like, I got to give my sister props. She believed in me and she kept saying like, you can do this. I will support you. And so I worked with her at her agency for 8 years. I moved from coordinator all the way to director. So I really need to credit my sister for actually really allowing me to sink into this industry and see how great it is. Without her, I probably would have never have entered communications.
Okay. And does your sister still run the communications agency?
She does. I think she recently just sold it.
Oh, okay.
So she's had it for quite some time, but I think it's public. Yeah, it's fine. She recently sold it. It's fine.
Wait, so were you guys like competing agencies?
No, she really specialized in real estate development.
Okay.
And when I left her agency, I wanted to take on more of those hospitality clients.
Gotcha.
So I took on a lot of restaurants. I took on a lot of small businesses. That's where I really wanted to make my mark, because ultimately I wasn't resonating with the book anymore. I was feeling pretty burnt out, and I just really wanted to work with the little guys.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where I got my start with Gentle Lion.
Gotcha. So you're working in your sister's firm and you're also working in hospitality. I guess at what point did it cross your mind that like you wanted to start your own firm? You said you were a little burnt out with the clients you had, but like when did it, you could have just gone and worked for another firm. So when did it sort of like come to you that you wanted to start something? And what were those like days like where you actually starting to plan to leave and do it?
Mm-hmm. I remember quitting, which was really hard. I mean, if you can imagine quitting an agency I worked for 8 years with my sister.
Yeah.
As my boss was very hard. And I took some time off. I didn't think I was going to work in marketing and PR ever again. I was kind of like, I'm done. And I remember I went to Mexico and I got an email from someone who ended up being my first client. It was a restaurant. They're like, hey, we'd really love your help. We're new. We know you're no longer at this agency. Would you just consider doing some work for us on the side? And so I'd actually never thought about creating my own company ever. I accidentally fell into it because people just kept asking me for help. And then it was almost like you guys, 3 years in, I woke up and I was like, oh, I guess I'm running a company. Like it just naturally happened.
So basically you quit the firm and like you were just like gonna be like, I'll just figure it out. Like, what was your thought of where you were gonna go, I guess, at that point?
At that point, it's like, oh, I'm just gonna double down and work in restaurants for a couple of years. I was making great connections there. I still loved what I did. I was a server, and my thought process in Mexico before I got that email was, I'm just going to take a year to just serve. And I still served while I was running my company, building my company, because, I had like 1 or 2 clients.
Yeah.
This is an interesting personality shift that we see with people we interview. Is usually I think the average person is, I need to have a backup, a plan. There's the people who plan and they have their backup, and the other people who are just like, I'm just going to do it and I'll figure it out. It sounds like you're definitely in that latter camp.
Yeah. I always call myself an accidental entrepreneur because I actually remember saying to myself when I was working in agency, I was like, I never want to own a business. This looks like a shit show. My sister was stressed out all the time. The liability. I'm like, who would ever do this? What crazy person would run a business? And now I'm 10 years in and I'm like, I guess I'm doing it.
So when you quit and you're in Mexico and you said someone reached out to you for your help, like, I guess, so it sounds like it was a restaurant. Yep. So how did they like know that like you could help with marketing for them? Like, is that where they came and asked you for help with? Or like, I guess I'm just curious how that came about, because usually a lot of this stuff, like, it seems like serendipity, but it's usually like a lot of years of like building connections and things like that. So I guess what was sort of the process for, to have that connection that was strong enough where they're going to reach out to you to do work rather than you having to like find jobs?
Yeah, the chef who was starting the new restaurant, I had done some work with in the past. So he had already known that I had the ability to help with marketing and PR. And then when he started his own restaurant, he just was like, oh, I've worked with Lana before and let's see if she can help us. And so there was already a connection there. It wasn't just, it wasn't random.
Gotcha. So then at what point, like, were you just considering yourself a freelancer at this point, or did you have to like be like, oh shit, I gotta like come up with a company name and start something? Like, I guess, what was that like?
Yeah, I had a really hard non-compete with my sister.
Okay.
And I was really worried about breaking the non-compete. And so I positioned myself as a consultant. I came up with the stupid name. It was so long because I didn't want people to read between the lines. It was like Lana Rogers, public relations and media consultant. It was just really long.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm focusing on one thing. And I ran with that name, I think, for 6 years.
Oh wow.
Yeah, we changed our name from Gentle Line. I should know this because I got audited by the CRA because they noticed my jump in expenses in advertising, because that was the year that we rebranded. And that was, 4 years ago. 4 years ago.
That's all it took to get audited. It was just spending more on your ads.
Yep. Because my advertising expenses were just like the same. And then we brought in a branding company, naming company, and we spiked, right? We went up, and the CRA is like, what are you doing? I was like, I'm rebranding my company.
So
I'm
what,
really not bitter.
so what did you tell your sister when you were like having these secret clients on the down low? Was she wondering like, where's this money coming from?
Hey, you guys, I fucked up. I got impatient, and so I got a couple clients. I was working for them on the side, and then I just was feeling, like I could do this, I'm gonna like reach out. And so I reached out to my entire network and said, I didn't say I started a new company. I said that I'm no longer with this agency. And my sister caught wind of it, and she fucking lost her mind.
Awkward Thanksgiving dinner, I can imagine.
We didn't talk for a while. It got pretty nasty.
Wow.
So do you have any other techniques for getting clients? I'm thinking like, how did you get those second and third? Was it all word of mouth? Like what is it that allowed you to get some traction? Because I think that's another thing that people really struggle with is, okay, you get one, maybe it feels a little bit lucky, but how do you keep that inertia going?
Yeah, I think it's a combination of both. It's reputation and the ability to stay relevant and top of mind while your reputation is soaring. And a lot of people come to us they think we're salespeople. We're not. We're marketers. We're about how do we attract people? How do we get engaged with your brand? I'm not a closer. They have to close. But how I've always attracted clients is really just based on the fact that if we're doing really good work, our clients are seeing crazy results, which we do provide. Clients are going to spread the word about us and go, oh my gosh, Gentle Lines changed our business trajectory. Half the time now, like my BD is really just focused on making sure the work is really good. And then I focus myself on like kind of being at the right place. So I go to a lot of events. I try to connect with as many people as possible. And it's almost like that magic moment where people ask me what I do and what my company is. They're like, oh, I've heard so many great things about you. So I actually don't even have to do any work when I'm out networking. My business has like spoken for myself. And I think that is such a sweet spot to get into.
Yeah. We had a former guest on the podcast who was like a 3D artist, and he was kind of saying the same thing. Like he did a lot of cold outreaches, but he said the first thing that he had to do was like build up a really impressive portfolio. So when someone actually did like acknowledge his response and they looked at his website, it was like, oh, there's all this work to actually show. Because I'm not gonna say it's easy to do cold outreach and stuff like that, but it's definitely the harder part to like build a reputation and like do good work time after time. And then so you actually have like some substance behind when you do like make these new connections.
And I went through a stint last year where I really tried the cold outreach. I tried to hit 10 businesses a month and I got not one. I did it for about 6 months. I never solidified one. I mean, funny story though, I reached out to one 2 years ago and I'm now working with them, but she never answered that email. I'm pretty sure she just looked at it and was like, what the fuck is this? And the reason I'm now working with them is because I have an advocate in that company who I've worked with before.
Yeah. Yeah. So for you, it really has been just kind of like that word of mouth and doing good work.
Yep.
So when you were those other clients, did you try to stay within, you mentioned hospitality is kind of a specialty area. Were those other clients in the same area, where it was kind of just word of mouth? Like, how did they, at that time, other than talking to someone, even like maybe, I don't know if you had a website, it sounds like you were pretty much just like unintentionally just kind of going with the flow and it kind of fell into it. How did you educate people about what you're capable of? And was it just people talking?
I did have a website. It was not great. I think I remember I saw it the other day. I was like, what is this? But yeah, I really did focus. A lot of the clients I worked with were hospitality. And because that industry here is so close and tight knit, word spread amongst hospitality folks and restaurateurs. And then the second client that I started working with, which I'm still actually working with to this date, we've been working together for 10 years. She's an interior designer, and she's been a great reference. She will always bring me potential clients because she works with clients who might need marketing. And so it's almost like the clients that we work with become referrers, and then it just kind of keeps rippling out from there.
Interesting. So how do you stay in contact with people? Because obviously it's one thing to do work, but you mentioned like you have a client that you reached out 2 years ago, but I think that's another thing people struggle with is how to maintain connections while you're running a business and then also not being annoying. Like, is that, do you have strategies that work for you there? How do you approach that?
Yeah, I mean, that's what Champagne Friday is. Champagne Friday is a sub-brand of Gentle Lion, and it is about staying connected with the community, doing fun events together. And I always, whenever I do those types of events, my job is to actually connect people at those events. That's my role. And just by kind of doing those events and having that brand, I'm not hard selling Gentle Lion ever. I'm just having this touch point with them where people feel they don't feel pressured. They don't feel like they're going to a party where they like need to sell themselves and stuff like that. So I think that's a strategy that's really worked well. And I've actually encouraged other business owners to do something similar. Like, what can you do that is staying in connection with folks that isn't directly related to your own business? That goes back to your brand values. Like, as you can tell, like I'm kind of a off the cuff. I'm a fun person. I really love connection. And so what can I do that really leans into my own brand values that I actually want to do all the time that's going to benefit my business?
So was that strategic where you're like, this is the stuff I'm good at, or did you just kind of fall into it? Or was like, I'm just going to do the things I like and they happen to work out?
Pretty much. I just like started doing it. And then as a strategist, I was like, oh, there's something to this, like I'm going to keep this going. It's working.
Yeah. Has that ever, so I guess when that point crossed your mind, or when you start thinking about like how this can actually benefit your business, did you try and like shift it at all from like, oh, this is less of a social thing, now more a bit of a strategic thing, so I'm going to like think a little bit more about it? Or was it always just like, what's up?
I did. I actually brought in another strategist to help me because I felt like I was a little bit biased with Champagne Friday. And we ended up building out a full-on membership for it. And oh my God, you guys, it like sucked the life out of me. I tried to monetize Champagne Friday and it fucked me.
Okay, how did it do that?
Did you have to take trips to your psychic for it?
Right? Yeah, I did. It was, well, I had to build a system around, I was like, oh, I want to capitalize on this. Like, once again, my greedy side came out, and I created a membership, where a subscription model where people could pay and they would get kind of added bonuses. So and then I actually got flagged by the AGLC because what I was doing is I was working with someone to get wholesale champagne, and then I was selling it as part of a membership. But since it was wholesale, it wasn't marked up. And so people would pay this monthly fee and it would cover my costs for champagne and like products. And, I wanted to give people these things as being a part of the community. And in the end, I got flagged by the AGLC. It was way too much work. I ended up losing a lot of time, a lot of sleep, a lot of money. And it was just like really, really hard to keep up with. And I shut down the membership. I think I did that like 2 years ago.
Is AGLC the liquor commission?
Yeah, the Alberta liquor license. I have Champagne Friday website, and it explained what you got in the membership.
Oh no, I was going to say who snitched on you.
That's so funny. There is no limit to the reach of the government, I guess. You just want to have fun on a Friday.
Exactly. Yeah. So, and I mean, that was just a reminder of, like, why am I trying to capitalize on this? Like, it can just stay as it is. It can just be a really great connection point for people. We just have the newsletter and the events now. And yeah, it's been going really well ever since.
Yeah. And so just thinking about like the journey with Gentle Line, as Taylor said, we kind of, the people we've spoken to, there seems to be like a lot of people kind of, I don't want to say fall into their business, but it kind of comes to them versus other people are really proactive and deliberate and they plan for years and years and years. So it sounds like Taylor said, you probably fell into the more like, you weren't planning on doing it, but people wanted your services. So you start your business. From that point on, like when you had that first client reach out to you, was it always pretty like smooth in terms of like the amount of clients you had? Like you always had plenty of work, or were there times where like you had no clients, or I don't know, like how has it been since the early days?
Yeah, it was tough. I mean, I still worked in restaurant for the first 2 years of the business to make sure I had a constant income.
Yeah.
But finding clients in the beginning was really, really hard. And even just, managing a business, right? Like I didn't even know invoicing system. I didn't need like GST, that whole learning curve of just what you needed to start as a business. That was a rocky road for me. Luckily, I had a lot of friends who were entrepreneurs. I ended up talking to clients who became mentors. But it's funny though, the first years were probably those years that I was the most profitable because it was just me. I was kind of winging it. I didn't have an office, I didn't have any overhead. And so when I look back at those years, I was like, wow, I was actually making a lot of money. And then it shifted when there did come a point when I just had a lot of clients that I couldn't manage on my own. I think I had about 10. And I'm like, I can't do this by myself. And so then I went and I found someone to help me. She's actually still with me today, Chantel. She's been with me for 9 years. And she came on as an intern and then she stayed on. She's now my lead strategist. But I think it was with bringing on Chantel that I realized this now needs to be a business. I now have a team member. She's an employee and I need to kind of give her a growth path. She can't just be, doing things willy-nilly. Like she needs to be able to have a succession and a trajectory. And because of her, that's what kind of lit me to go, I think I need to build a proper business out of this. And so I need to put together a proper marketing strategy for us. I need to figure out what our trajectories are. So yeah, she really ignited that spark for me to build.
So you think like by taking on the extra responsibility of having someone that was relying on the business then like forced you to kind of like step it up. So like that actually was like a growth strategy in its own.
Yeah. It's almost like these accidental pieces. They're these like, oh, I guess I need to do this now. Like I never really plan. I'm not a planner and go. I kind of just let things happen, which maybe isn't the best way to do things. But it feels right for me. And so I kind of make a decision based on what's happening in the moment. And that's how I've kind of always run the business.
When it came time to scale, were you like, did you start with like bringing on them as like contractors or like full-time employees? I can imagine there's a lot of like, you're learning new legal things that you have to follow. That seems very like daunting. How did you learn the best route to take there? And did you just kind of like ease into it with like contracting and scaling up your team that way?
I hired everyone on as employees, weirdly enough, and I actually don't remember why. Because you're right, like that would be the natural place to start.
Mhm.
Yeah, I don't know. I think employees to me was more, I really wanted to have a team. I did realize that I really liked working with other people. And to me, an employee is like, we're in it together, we're working. I really wanted to have an office space. I can't work from home. So that also was like, well, if I'm gonna have an office, I need to have a team. And then from there, I think it was mostly just about I was able to kind of create some systems. I was always scared of hiring too many people for the work we had. So I intuitively, weirdly created systems that showed what our capacity is. And I still use those systems today. So we were just about to hire another team member in the fall, and then I just lost 4 clients. And so I saw the hours go down, and I'm like, we can't hire someone right now.
Yeah.
So I do make decisions based on the data, the systems that I have set up.
And so it sounds like when you started, you had the intention to focus on hospitality clients. So you said you wanted to work with small businesses. So as you've gone on and you've had Gentle Line now for a number of years, like has that scope become more narrow or has it changed at all? Are you still focusing on hospitality clients? I know you spoke at the start as well about like you use, your kind of like insights and you're talking with customers, but I guess how has that evolution gone in terms of like what it is that you offer to clients?
Yeah, we definitely started lots of hospitality, lots of design clients, like interior design, builders, real estate agents. Like that was kind of where we did a lot of our work. And then unfortunately, when COVID hit, restaurants just like were out, right? Like they suffered the most during COVID, and we were part of the cut, which I totally understand why. So COVID actually forced me to look at different sectors, and now hospitality makes up very, very little of our book. I think we maybe have one or two right now versus we used to have 10. So now our sectors we probably do the most amount of work in like healthcare, health and wellness,
Okay.
dentists, chiropractors, private health clinics, aesthetics, things like that. And then professional services. We do really great work. And I know this might sound bad, but I find professional services to be like, they're very unsexy industry, right? Like financial advisor, archaeologist, security. And we're able to go in and kind of make them sexy and get people really excited about them. And we really love doing that. So those are the 2 that we probably do the most work in. And then of course we still have quite a bit of interior design, architect clients. So those would be our 4.
So I know you talked about it a bit earlier, but could you dig in a little bit more into like what it is that like a client needs help with? Like you mentioned being a business therapist or that you develop frameworks based on research. Is a lot of this like you're doing market research and helping these people who maybe aren't as business minded level up their professionalism or think of new strategies they could take? Like what would someone work with you on? Like, do you have any specifics on that?
Yeah, initially the reach out always is, we need help growing. Or they're like, oh, we've seen a dip in our sales, we've seen a dip in our revenue, and maybe our marketing department's a complete dumpster fire. So we're usually approached first around marketing and sales pieces. And then that always stays true because they know, a client comes to us, they know what's happening. But then when we go in and we do this insights work and we talk to their ideal customers and we talk to these real life individuals and we'll talk to their teams, there's other issues that usually emerge. And, marketing is considered a core function of a business. And so if there are other functions of the business that are failing, it's not worth maybe spending money on marketing right now. So if we are working with a client and their whole marketing department is a complete dumpster fire, we're going to go, we need to reorg this. We need to get your teams talking again. We need to make them efficient again. We'll do that first, and then we'll move into creating a marketing plan for them. So we do like to look at the business more in like a little bit more in depth. I'm not a business coach by any means, but I do apply my learnings and how I've operated as an entrepreneur over the past 10 years. And if there's something that's a little bit more tricky, then I would bring in kind of an expert. Like if they're having financial issues, I'd bring a CFO or something like that for them.
So one thing you'd mentioned earlier too is that like you call it business therapy, where you're talking with their customers and things like that. So what's that process like? Like how do you get in touch with their customers, and what do you normally do? Like are you having coffee with just like a customer, phone calls? What's that about?
Yeah, we're in an insights project right now for a product. They're a food product, and they came to us because they really are like, we're not growing and we feel like we're doing a really good job. We feel like our product is great, but we're clearly missing something. Clients are jumping off, customers are jumping off. And so we'll map out who their target audience is, and we can base this on the demographics of who's spending the most amount of money with them. So we identified 3 different groups. We name them, we create personas around them. They're almost like living, breathing people. And then we go to the client and say, you need to find these people for us. You need to find a Teresa who's 35 years old, who has kids, who is a nurse. And ultimately, like our clients are able to find those people within those buckets. And then we do the reach out. So we'll reach out, we'll incentivize and say, hey, we're looking to do an interview with you. We'll give you a gift card. And then those interviews take place either over the phone or over Zoom. And when they're done, we analyze all those interviews.
And then when you have that data, then like you're going to base your marketing campaign off of what they're saying.
100%. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. And then, oh, good.
No, go ahead.
Oh, so like, and then when you're coming up with those like customer demographics, so that's based on like your guys' own research, and then you basically like hypothesize what potential customers would look like, and then you ask the business to be like, do you have customers that fit this demographic that we could speak with?
Yeah, 100%.
And is this something that's like normal for marketing agencies to do, or is this kind of like your own thing?
No, I think it should be normalized. I'm a huge advocate for insights work and data. And I learned to do this work through the agency that I was at before, and we've refined it to our own process. And to me, it seems like a no-brainer. It's like an insurance policy for us, because we now go to the client. I'm like, look at what people are saying. It's unbiased. It's here. Like you can't ignore it. And we're going to build based on that. And it gives clients the confidence to know that this plan is actually coming from the data. It's coming from the real people. When I've talked to other marketing companies before, I think maybe why they don't do it. Well, number one, there's other ways of collecting data, right? People can go back into their like CRM systems and stuff like that. But we like the human-centered approach. I really like listening to nuances. And I actually think you can leverage these conversations. Like if you've lost a customer, they've been gone for a long time, you jump on the phone with them, they get to air their grievances and their feedback, they're probably going to become a customer again. And I think just marketers, I mean, not to go on my soapbox, but I think a lot of marketers are just out there to turn and burn work, create the same strategies over and over again, take in money from digital ads. And I am very, very against that. I think everything needs to be customized.
You've worked with a lot of clients, obviously, over the years. Is there a common pattern you see? Like, say I'm a new startup, or I'm pushing an idea, I'm struggling to grow. Is there a common thread that you see people making mistakes? Like you've mentioned, you need to talk to people. Your actual customers is one. Are there anything else that you see often cropping up?
I think a lot of founders get really caught up in their own brand, right? Like they are so close to it and they almost treat it like their child, and they're unwilling to look at maybe different ways of thinking around the brand because they're so protective of it. And it's a positive because it means that, they're in it and they're not just going to leave their business, but they really just need to open up a little bit and open up to possibilities, and maybe like release the reins a little bit and let someone else come in and give a different perspective.
How would you say, like, I imagine this is probably an issue where like you're kind of like a marketing expert, branding expert. You talk to these businesses and there's a good chance the founder, is super good at the thing he is good at. And then him or she, I guess, but like, then you come in and you have these ideas for marketing and, they're probably really smart at what they do. And maybe they don't listen to like your approach and you kind of know this is right. Like you have experience. Yeah. How do you manage that dynamic of like convincing them to like see the light?
That's so hard, Stephen. It's like, it's probably one of the most difficult challenges being in this industry, because, and I think it was Simon Sinek who said it, was a financial advisor is going to go, I know about finance and I know about marketing. It's like the difference between being a strategist and an executor. An executor thinks they know strategy. For some reason, they're just like, there's some ego at play there. But a strategist is always going to go, I know that I can't do this. My execution team can do it. And that's the exact same thing that we're talking about here. Financial advisor is going to go, well, I know exactly what marketing is. And I just go, okay, great. Well, if you know, then why are you talking to me? And why is your business still suffering? Like, and I don't push.
Mic drop.
I don't convince. Like, I'm just like, if you don't want to do it, I'm not going to force you to do it. And then we usually don't work with those people.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I can imagine that is probably like the biggest battle. Is like, non-creatives, and I don't know. Like I said, if you're a good money manager, it doesn't mean you're a good marketer.
Yeah, and what I'm trying to do, because I find I get quite on my soapbox about marketing, you need to spend time and money there. I need to maybe soften my lens and understand that that business owner is just like at their wit's end, or is feeling desperate. Like there's a lot of emotions involved in it, and just like softening my delivery a little bit more on it, because it can get a little.
Yes, I can imagine it's tough.
You've been in business long enough, I think, to see trends. You mentioned like going through COVID, I think was like a transformation in how businesses operate. Many went online. Have you noticed, what's your feeling on like the latest trends that are happening around? Like we've seen AI obviously is exploding, AI content. People are really being digital focused. I'm kind of getting the feeling that maybe people are getting sick of like being always online all the time, and maybe we transition back to more physical interactions and physical ways of connecting. I don't know if you have thoughts or have noticed trends on there.
Well, I love that you brought this up, because for a very, very short period of time, I feel like everyone was very, very pro AI. And now what I'm seeing, clients can tell when AI is being used and they don't like it. And not to say that they are going, you can't use it at all. It's just not being properly used, and it's become quite obvious. And there's this trickle out effect. I just had this conversation with a client yesterday. She's like, it's so obvious that AI was used in this, it was a thought leadership piece. And she's like, I can't put this out there. We didn't write the content, someone else did. She was asking how to navigate the situation. And she's like, where does the buck stop? How do we continue to manage this? Because if it's a company that's based on research, AI can't be used. And so I think people are maybe getting quite lazy around using it and are not really understanding the proper ways to do it. And I do think we are coming back. I just pitched my very first out of home campaign for the first time in like 5 years. Billboards. I am seeing people. Silk and Snow just did a massive out of home campaign in Calgary. I'm seeing them everywhere, seeing them in all these billboards, and their showroom is packed. They did it very strategically. They put it in the places right around where their showroom is, and they just put the address on it. And because they have great brand reputation, people are like, oh my gosh, they're here. I want to go check them out in person.
That's really interesting, actually, that you mentioned billboards. I've often wondered if they're effective, but we had a past guest, Alexandra Jade. She does, she's based in Alberta, Edmonton, but she does like street art, and like they're not really billboards, but businesses hire it as like a marketing sort of promotion way. And it kind of just reminded me of what you just said there, that community aspect of here's something that's here. It's actually physical.
Yeah. And the digital space is so crowded. I mean, man, and then I think of some of the agencies that are coming in and doing digital, and they're charging a lot. And it's just, it's hard to get noticed in the digital space right now. And so, I mean, I've always preached this, but it is about being quite integrated and looking at not just putting all your eggs into the digital basket, because you need to be standing out.
Yeah. So if you were to receive a $30,000 grant for your business, what would you do with it? Like, would you increase your own marketing? Would you try and like introduce like a product or something? Or like, what would you do if you given like a grant?
Well, I'd pay off my credit card debt, because my accounts receivable is a nightmare right now, you guys.
Okay, so I assume that's paid off as a part of this grant too.
My biggest issue as a small business owner is my accounts receivable, people not paying on time. It's struggle. So besides that, that's a good question. What would I do with it? I don't know if I would put it, I don't know. I think I would, oh my gosh, I don't even know what I would do with it.
It might be an easier question, because you talked about when you stopped working at your sister's firm and you thought like, oh, maybe I'll open a restaurant one day. So now you're obviously in a business where you're basically helping other businesses grow, and like that is your service. Like you come up with strategies for them. Is there part of you that like wants to do a restaurant or like something like that, where basically like you could apply your marketing skills to like some sort of service or product? Or like, do you really like what you're doing in terms of the strategy for other businesses and helping them grow?
I definitely would consider, moving into, I don't know if I would do a restaurant, just because, man, it's hard. COVID, I think COVID just really changed how restaurants are being operated right now. It's really hard, I feel, for those business owners. I am interested in the product space.
Yeah.
And what I do think about product is it's not about actually being the one to create the product. It's about finding an already existing one that has really shitty branding and marketing, and private labeling it and creating something from that already existing product. I think that's a very interesting space right now.
So any examples that you can think of?
I mean, supplements, I think, is really interesting. So finding some sort of supplement and then repackaging it in a completely different way. My sister's doing a really cool brand right now. I think I won't say the name of it, but she's doing a like anti-aging gum. And it's a product that was already created by someone, but they have like bought the rights to it or whatever, and she's rebranding it and marketing it. And I think that's so genius, because when you think about some of these brands that have been so successful, they've had amazing marketing and branding campaigns tied to them. And maybe the product is not as great, but
that is interesting, because that kind of reminds me of, I don't know, the Nest thermostat, the Peloton. Like a lot of these are ideas that have been around for a very long time. They weren't exactly they put a new spin on them, but they had exercise bikes had been around for a very long time.
Yeah. And like drinks, like the whole non-alcoholic drink play right now is huge. Like we're working with a client and they're focusing in on non-alc versus alc, and man, their numbers are crazy, because the consumer behavior is people are drinking less. And so packaging a really fun non-alcoholic drink.
Yeah. As we wrap things up here, I do want to ask, do you have advice for anyone who maybe finds themselves with an idea that they want to kind of try to take an attempt at, but maybe they're not quite sure how to go about it? What advice would you give them?
I think if the idea is there, it's great. And I would also say, finding other people within that space to talk to, classic, gather some data, gather some insights. And then, I mean, a great idea is just a great idea if you don't know how to hustle and you don't have hard work.
Yeah.
So I'd say if you really are wanting to see this come to life, buckle up. Like, a lot of sacrifice is going to happen. There's a lot of hard work that comes in bringing a really good idea to fruition, unless you're a fucking millionaire where you can pay someone else to do it for you.
Yeah.
So maybe they just need to go find a millionaire to support the idea.
Yes. What has been your favorite moment from your journey as an entrepreneur?
My favorite moment, I just love my team. My team is the best. I get to work with these amazing women every day, and a lot of them have been with me since the beginning, and they are so much smarter than me. They always bring a unique perspective, and I just don't think I'd be doing what I'm doing if my team wasn't involved. So definitely the people.
Yeah, no, that's great. That's great. Well, that brings us to the end. So we don't want to take up too much of your time. We really appreciate you getting back to us, taking the time to come on this podcast when you're the only one in your office, and I'm sure you're very busy. So thank you so much. It's been a great conversation.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
We do want to give you a chance real quick to plug your work and your business. Where can people find you, get in touch?
Oh, I'm usually not used to this. Like, what, my URL?
Well, like your website, I'm assuming they could go to your website is gentlelion.ca.
Yes, gentlelion.ca's website. I am a fan of LinkedIn, so you can find me on LinkedIn, Lana Rogers and Gentle Lions on LinkedIn.
Awesome.
Or you can just show up at our office. Happens all the time. Come to the next karaoke session, Taylor.
What's your go-to karaoke song? Sorry, it's another rapid fire.
I don't have a go-to song, you guys. This is how I am, and this is my final thing. I don't have an actual song that's an always. I like to do songs that I've never done before. So it's really what is of the moment. I hosted a karaoke party over Stampede, and I was just there to host. I wasn't there to sing, and they're like, "Get up there!" And I'm like, "Oh God, okay, what haven't I done?" And I did Bon Jovi's "Dead or Alive," and it was a mic drop moment.
That's a good one. That's a good energy to head into the weekend, Dead or Alive. So that's a perfect way to wrap the episode.
Play it after this is done.
Yeah. Thank you so much. And let's definitely stay in touch.
Okay. Thanks, guys. Really appreciate it.